While basketball is obviously a team sport, it's one of the easier ones for a particular player to take over a game. The best players have the ability to put their teams on their back any given night, or even for an entire series on the game's biggest stage in the NBA Finals. Here are 8 NBA stars who carried their team to a title. 2006. Dwyane Wade. In just his 3rd season in the league at the age of only 24, D-Wade led his Heat squad to their first ever NBA title as a franchise. Miami took down the Mavericks in 6 games after losing the first 2. After going down 0-2 in the series, Wade knew his team needed more from him, and he took his play to another level. He was the leading scorer in games 3 through 6, as he averaged nearly 40 points per game. For the series as a whole, he averaged 34.7 points, 7.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 2.7 steals per game. While some people assume Wade needed Shaq's help to win this ring, the Mavs actually held the Big Diesel in check for the most part. Shaq only averaged 13.7 points and 10.2 rebounds per game in that series. It was one of the first of many legendary performances from the young Wade, who would later go on to become a Miami Heat icon over the course of his career. 2009. Kobe Bryant. The Black Mamba wasted no time taking care of the Magic as the Lakers cruised to a 4-1 series over Orlando. This was big for Kobe and his legacy at the time, as he had never won a ring without Shaq by his side prior to this. Bryant was out to prove to everyone that he could win one on his own, and that's exactly what he did, as he averaged 32.4 points, 5.6 rebounds, 7.4 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.4 blocks per game against the Magic in the 5-game series. He didn't have much help in the scoring department, as only one other Laker averaged more than 15 points per game that series. But that didn't matter because Kobe was on a mission. Bryant was the leading scorer in 4 of those 5 games, including going off for 40 in Game 1 and setting the tone for the series, winning by 25 that night. He was surgical from the opening tip of Game 1, and Dwight Howard's Magic never stood a chance. 1993. Michael Jordan. With a 6-0 record in the finals, you could choose a handful of different MJ performances to talk about here, but in 1993, he was extra special, even for his ultra-high standards. On Jordan's way to capturing his 3rd straight ring, he put up video game-like numbers against Charles Barkley's Suns. Michael was the leading scorer in all 6 games that series, as he averaged a whopping 41 points per game. MJ didn't just score against Phoenix, though. He did it all. He grabbed 8.5 boards, dished out 6.3 assists, and totaled 1.7 steals per contest as well. It was one of Jordan's better shooting performances too, as he shot over 50% from the field and 40% from beyond the arc. Simply put, there was nothing the Suns could do to stop Jordan from going back to back to back. Thanks to MJ's dominance in this series, Shaq gets to continuously make fun of Charles Barkley for not having a ring during NBA on TNT. 2016. LeBron James. LeBron carried his fair share of less than stellar Cavs rosters to the finals, but 2016 was the only occasion he could actually get over the hump and win it all. Everything about this series was special for King James. First, consider the opponent and the obstacle, as Cleveland fell behind 3-1 to a team who had just set an NBA record by winning 73 games in the regular season. Next, factor in LeBron trying to end a 52-year professional sports title drought for the city he grew up just outside of. With all that in mind, James went out and nearly averaged a triple-double for the series, with 29.7 points, 11.3 rebounds, 8.9 assists, 2.6 steals, and 2.3 blocks per game, as his team became the first in NBA history to ever come back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals. His chase-down block of Andre Iguodala in the closing minutes of Game 7 serve as a microcosm of the effort and skill it took for LeBron to pull off what he did in 2016. Both that particular play and the entire series will forever be a part of NBA lore. 2011. Dirk Nowitzki. In what ended up being his only NBA title, Dirk shocked the basketball world as he and his Mavs upset Miami's Big Three in just 6 games. When LeBron, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh formed a super team with the Heat, some people viewed it as unfair. The trio was going to coast to not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7 rings in South Beach. LeBron's words, not mine. The King forgot to factor in one thing, though: the big man from Germany. The Heat looked like they were well on their way to the first of many titles, as they took a 2-1 series lead, before Dirk led his team to 3 straight wins. He averaged 26 points and 9.7 rebounds per game, as Miami just had no answer for his mid-range game. The lone All-Star on the Mavs team versus 3 All-Stars for the Heat, and they still couldn't stop him. Dirk and the Mavs' path to the finals was just as impressive as dismantling Miami, as they swept the 2-time defending champ Lakers in the second round before beating the Thunder in the conference finals, who had their own young Big Three with James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. 2003, Tim Duncan. This one may be one of the more underappreciated NBA Finals performances, and it's fitting that it involves Tim Duncan. In a 6-game series against the New Jersey Nets, Duncan put up monster numbers. The big fundamental was more than just fundamental. He averaged 24.2 points, 17 rebounds, 5.3 assists, and an astounding 5.3 blocks per game. In the series-clinching Game 6, Duncan was only 2 blocks away from a quadruple-double. He had 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and 8 blocks. Forgetting for a second that those numbers were to win a title, those are absurd for any game of basketball. Duncan's performance in that series is even more impressive when you consider he was going up against great players in Kenyon Martin and Dikembe Mutombo. During that Game 6, he held Martin to a gross 3-23 from the field. Don't let his mild personality fool you. Tim Duncan was a baller and had one of the more impressive finals performances ever in 2003. 1995, Hakeem Olajuwon. The majority of the teams mentioned on this list were top seeds in their respective conferences. But that was not the case for the Rockets in '95. Hakeem led his 6th-seeded squad all the way to the finals after finishing the regular season just 8 games above 500 with 45 wins. Every team Houston faced in the playoffs that year won at least 57 games. In the finals, they took on the #1 seeded Magic, who had Shaq and Penny Hardaway. It didn't end up being much of a series, as Olajuwon helped his Rockets stroll to back-to-back rings by sweeping the Magic. Hakeem was the leading scorer in all 4 games and averaged 32.8 points, 11.5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Although Shaq was pretty young then, it wasn't like Olajuwon took advantage of a trash center. 2000, Shaquille O'Neal. Over the course of his 19-year NBA career, the Big Diesel brought home 4 titles, and his path to the first one was his most impressive. In a 6-game series against the Pacers, Shaq was the leading scorer in all 6 games and leading rebounder in 5. He was actually a cheat code against Indiana, as he averaged 38 points, 16.7 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game. Shaq was efficient, too, as he shot over 60% from the field. O'Neal didn't have much help that series, as only one other Laker averaged more than 12 points per game that series, Kobe at 15.6. In addition, nobody else was really grabbing boards for LA. Other than Shaq, Robert Horry was the only Laker to average more than 5 rebounds per game, and he only snagged 5.2. It was the type of finals performance from the Big Diesel that somehow matched his physical stature and size of his personality. Which of these performances do you think is most impressive? Are there any that you think we missed? Feel free to let us know in the comments section below.